President Donald Trump on Thursday, the 10th of August, warned North Korea it should be very, very nervous about the consequences if it even thinks of attacking U.S. soil after nuclear-armed Pyongyang said it was readying missile launch plans on the Pacific territory of Guam. In the meantime, a Chinese state-run newspaper wrote today that China should remain neutral if North Korea launches an attack. The Republican billionaire dismissed any criticism of his fire and fury warning, saying it possibly wasn't tough enough given threats made by the regime of Kim Jong-un to both Washington and its allies. Trump also said China, Pyongyang's main diplomatic ally, could do a lot more to pressure Kim to end his country's nuclear weapons and ballistic missile programs. Trump's comments, made at his golf club retreat in New Jersey, came after the North announced a detailed plan to send 4 missiles over Japan and towards Guam, where some 6,000 U.S. soldiers are based. Pyongyang said the scheme to target the island, a key U.S. military outpost in the Western Pacific, was intended to signal a crucial warning as only absolute force would have an effect on a U.S. leader bereft of reason. Trump fired back with gusto. If North Korea does anything in terms of even thinking about an attack on anybody we love or we represent or our allies or us, they can be very, very nervous, he told reporters, with Vice President Mike Pence at his side. And they should be, because things will happen to them like they never thought possible. In addition, the EU on Thursday expanded its North Korean sanctions blacklist as fiery rhetoric between Washington and Pyongyang sent tensions soaring. The EU member states said in a statement that in accordance with the UN resolution, the bloc was adding 9 individuals and 4 entities, including state-owned foreign trade bank FTB, to its sanctions list. This resolution was adopted on 5 August 2017 in response to the Democratic People's Republic of Korea DPRK's ongoing nuclear weapon and ballistic missile development activities, in violation and flagrant disregard of previous UN Security Council resolutions, the statement noted. Better get their act together. Relations between Washington and Pyongyang have been tense for months, in the wake of the North's repeated missile tests, including 2 successful intercontinental ballistic missile ICBM test launches in July. Those launches put the U.S. mainland in range. Some experts believe the second missile could potentially reach New York. The escalating saber-rattling took an unexpected turn on Tuesday when Trump seemed to borrow from the North's arsenal of rhetoric and said it faced fire and fury like the world has never seen if it continued to threaten the U.S. That prompted a defiant Pyongyang to threaten a missile attack on Guam. The war of words has set off diplomatic alarm bells and raised fears of a miscalculation that could lead to catastrophic consequences on the Korean peninsula and beyond. The region is facing a mini-Cuban missile crisis, John Delury, a professor at Seoul's Yonsei University, told AFP. Trump dismissed the notion that his administration was delivering mixed messages and said Washington remained open to negotiations. But he once again suggested that he expected China to do a lot more to bring North Korea into line. I will tell you this, North Korea better get their act together or they're going to be in trouble like few nations have ever been in trouble in this world, okay, he added. The United Nations imposed a 7th set of sanctions on Pyongyang at the weekend that could cost North Korea $1 billion a year, with even China voting for the U.S. drafted proposal. Unusual detail in North Korea. General Kim Raek-yeom, the commander of the North's missile forces, dismissed Trump's fire and fury remarks as a load of nonsense, according to Pyongyang's official Korean Central News Agency. Sound dialogue is not possible with such a guy bereft of reason, he added. The military was expected to finalize its Guam plan by mid-August and submit it to Kim for consideration, he said. The unusually precise statement said the 4 missiles would be launched simultaneously and overfly the Japanese prefectures of Shimane, Hiroshima and Kochi. They would have a flight time of 17 minutes 45 seconds, travel 3,356.7 kilometers and come down 30 to 40 kilometers away from Guam, it said, just outside U.S. territorial waters. Japan, which has in the past warned it would shoot down any North Korean missiles that threaten its territory, responded that it could never tolerate provocations from the reclusive state. Professor Yang Moo-jin of Seoul's University of North Korean Studies said the level of detail in Pyongyang's statement was unusual. The North appears to be saying what it is going to do is within international laws, he told AFP. Therefore, it cannot be ruled out that the North may translate this plan into reality. Not a dare analyst said a North Korean launch towards Guam would put the U.S. in a dilemma if it did not try to intercept the missiles. Its credibility would be damaged and the North would feel emboldened to carry out a full-range ICBM test. But if an intercept were attempted and failed in any way, it would undermine the effectiveness of the United States ballistic missile defense system. Trump said Kim had disrespected our country greatly and vowed that he would not tolerate threats against the U.S., Japan and South Korea. That's not a dare, he said. That is a statement of fact. Tensions on the Korean peninsula tend to increase when Seoul and Washington launch major military joint exercises, and the next, Ulchi Freedom Guardian, is set to kick off on the 21st of August. Pyongyang's interpretation of rhetoric from Washington is different from the way the West regards the North's habitual threats, said Hong Hunik, a senior researcher at the Sejong Institute. It views such fiery rhetoric from Trump as a matter of life and death. The role of China in the meantime, a Chinese state-run newspaper said on Friday in a warning for Pyongyang over its missile plans, that China should remain neutral if North Korea launches an attack that threatens the United States. China, North Korea's most important ally and trading partner, has reiterated calls for calm during the current crisis. Beijing has expressed frustration with both Pyongyang's repeated nuclear and missile tests and with behavior from South Korea and the United States, such as military drills, that it sees as escalating tensions. China should also make clear that if North Korea launches missiles that threaten U.S. soil first and the U.S. retaliates, China will stay neutral. The Global Times, which is widely read but does not represent government policy, said in an editorial. If the U.S. and South Korea carry out strikes and try to overthrow the North Korean regime and change the political pattern of the Korean peninsula, China will prevent them from doing so, it said. Germany called on China and Russia this week to dissuade North Korea from pursuing policies that would lead to a military escalation on the Korean peninsula. The goal of the German government is to avoid a further military escalation and to settle the conflict in the North Pacific peacefully, said government spokeswoman Ulrich Demmer. China and Russia have a special responsibility to do everything they can to dissuade North Korea from a path of escalation, she added.